Well, hello, podcast listeners. I'm so glad you clicked in today after my long, unexpected absence. I could give you a whole list of reasons why I've been on such a long break, but you don't want to hear excuses. However, I will enlighten you a bit in just a minute. On today's podcast, I'm going to take you to a gorgeous setting near the top of Bennett Mountain in Sonoma County, California, as I get back on the wine road.
The soil is almost 100% volcanic rock, so it's pretty tough to farm up here, but that makes really unique, concentrated wines.
He's head winemaker Matt Casalenuevo of Coursey Graves Estate Winery. Yeah, it's likely you haven't heard of Coursey Graves. They've been around for just about a decade, and until this year, they've sort of been flying under the radar. If you've been to Healdsburg, California, you may have seen or visited their tasting room. But this year, they decided to focus solely on the winery estate location in Bennett Valley. As I touched upon in the opening, the beautiful setting is a feast for the eyes. One of several reasons I've been pulled away from this podcast is the fact that I've been working at Coursey Graves over the past year. And this late summer and fall, we became extremely busy as wine lovers have discovered this lush oasis in the sky. You can see some photos of the property on my website with this interview at onthewineroad.com. So I've been working in the same building with Matt for a while now, and I felt the stellar work he has been doing deserves your attention. But first, On the Wine Road podcast is brought to you locally by Sonoma Clean Power. For those of you in the area, learn how your actions can make a greater impact with clean, renewable energy at poweringeverydaymoments.org. That's poweringeverydaymoments.org. Winemaker Matt and I met for this interview in late September, just as harvest was about to begin. Matt is a laid-back guy, as I can be, so this is another one of my casual conversations. When you see the photo of the stunning scenery that stretched out for miles in front of us, you'll understand why we were so relaxed. Shortly before we met up, Matt had been promoted, which made for an ideal lead-in. I guess I should start with a congratulations for being named head winemaker here at Coursey Graves.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
We do talk a little bit during the regular workday, don't we?
Yeah. Just the most random things or wine-related things, all fun conversations.
Speaking of that, harvest is beginning this week. That's a fun conversation. Are you ready to lead that charge?
I'm ready. Yeah, we start on Saturday. I made my first pick call of my career on Monday, so a lot of first pick call jitters and nervousness, but we're all ready. I have full confidence in my cellar team, and we're excited to get this vintage going.
Yeah, no doubt you can handle it because you've been here for 6.5 years. And I've heard this more than once. Assistant winemakers do more work than the head winemaker.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it like in a kitchen setting, the assistant winemaker is really like the chef de cuisine of the whole kitchen, and the executive chef would really be the kind of hands-off head winemaker in a way. Mm-hmm. But in no way that the assistant winemaker is assistant to the winemaker. It's the cellar belongs to the assistant winemaker. So it's a bit different than what the title actually says.
Right. But you've worked at some other respectable wineries before your 6.5 years here, right?
Yeah. So I started my career after school at Davis at Williams-Sonoma, and then I did a few stints in Australia and New Zealand. I returned to Ramey Wine Cellars and then went back to Williams-Sonoma for a bit.
Wow.
And then I found myself here at Coursey Graves back in 2018.
That's quite a list of wineries there. And interesting that did you end up here because there was a position, or you liked the idea of working at a place that didn't have quite the reputation the others do? So
back in 2018, my internship was ending at Williams-Sonoma, and I was at a fork in the road whether I wanted to continue that internship harvest hop lifestyle I did have a job in Burgundy lined up at Domaine de Monty. But at the same time, I had tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt that I needed to take care of. So I needed at some point to to kind of stop the harvest hop and kind of get back to reality in a way. So I've never heard about Coursey Graves back in 2018. My friend mentioned that they were looking for a cellar master. And I looked on the website, and it was Napa Cab, Bennett Mountain Red Blend, and a Syrah, which I was more of a Pinot and Chardonnay guy back in the day, and still am. But I thought, you know what, I'll just take this as like an interview practice or whatever for anything that would come in the future.
Sure.
So I came up to the winery. I tasted. It was hardly an interview. It was more like a barrel tasting and talking with the founding winemaker. And as soon as that finished, I knew that I was done looking for a winery to work at. I loved the wines that were made here, and it really changed my perspective on how you can make Cabernet. So driving down the mountain after the interview, I stopped sending out my resume, and I was just, fingers crossed that I get an email back to for a second interview or anything like that. And turns out it worked out pretty well.
It certainly did. 6 years in, he became the head winemaker at Coursey Graves. You'll hear more about the property and what makes it so distinctive when we get back from this message from my supportive sponsor, for whom I have great respect.
Sonoma Clean Power is proudly celebrating 10 years of serving Sonoma and Mendocino counties as your local, not-for-profit electricity provider. In the early 2000s, California passed legislation allowing cities and counties to create community choice power providers, public agencies owned by the community they serve. SCP began in 2014 and immediately launched Evergreen, our 100% local, renewable service that became a model for the nation. Since then, we've saved customers millions of dollars while reducing greenhouse gas emissions, investing in our communities, and brought energy education to our schools. We've advocated for grid reliability, climate safety, and also increased the number of electric cars and bikes on our roads. Together with our customers, we've made great progress, and we're not done yet. Join us as we continue to light the way during the next 10 electric years. Sonoma Clean Power. Innovation grown locally.
Thank you for listening to this On the Wine Road podcast. I'm Jeff Davis. Now let's head back to Bennett Mountain to the Merlot lookout deck at Coursey Graves Estate Winery as I continue my conversation with head winemaker Matt Casalenuevo. And every week I share with the guests about what makes this property so special. And I'd like to hear what you have to say about the vineyards here at Coursey Graves.
Well, I can't say that it's one thing in particular. It's a mass of things that kind of make Bennett Mountain so special. Right now we're looking west in between Sonoma Mountain and Taylor Mountain, and it creates kind of like a horse saddle feature that really allows wind and cold air to come straight from the Pacific Ocean with really no obstruction. So that alone, this exposure, it allows cold air to kind of cool down the vineyard during probably around like 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock is when we start getting some winds that kind of cool down the vineyard. The soil is almost 100% volcanic rock, so it's pretty tough to farm up here, but that makes really unique, concentrated wines.
Because the vines get stressed, right?
Yeah. The vines don't tend to crop very high. The berries are, on an average year, pretty small compared to like Cabernet grown on the valley floor. Also, we're up almost at 1,000 feet right now, and during the night, the vineyard doesn't cool down like it does on the valley floor. The nights hover around high 50s to low 60s, which allows ripening to kind of continue during the night, and that really makes us able to grow Bordeaux varietals up here. Otherwise, they would never ripen.
Yeah. We went well into October last year, the last day of October, if I'm not mistaken. But you think it's going to be a little earlier this year?
Yeah. So last year was a strange vintage. I think we barreled down our last lot the week after Thanksgiving, which was a long harvest. But yeah, this year's a different story. We're about 3.5 weeks earlier than last year, which is pretty on par with the 5-year average for this site. So we'll probably be picked out by mid-October at the latest, I would say.
Tell us about the Chardonnay and Pinot Noir vineyards that you'll be attacking very soon.
Yeah, so the Chardonnay is from a small vineyard close to Windsor. This year's looking great. There's a lot of natural acidity, which I love in Chardonnay. So that's going to come in on Saturday. The numbers I've been tracking every week, they look great. Like the progression of sugar levels and acid is very, very predictable. For the last 2 years I've been working with that vineyard. Pinot Noir, we're going to continue getting from one of our estate vineyards out on Spring Hill Road in Petaluma. We're getting the first samples today, so I haven't ran them yet, but I assume that we're like maybe 2.5 weeks away, just walking the vineyard yesterday. So I probably open the weather app maybe 50 times a day. I just because during this time weather is so important and it plays such a big impact on maturity and ripening. So that really impacts timing. So I've been on my weather app like a hawk, trying to get ahead of any possible weather variances or anything like that.
Well, and we have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride this year with the weather. It cools off and it gets hot again, back into the upper 90s and tipping into 100, and it's been crazy.
Yeah, so this year we had a pretty decent heat event in July. Luckily for us in Bennett Mountain, it's generally, I live in Healdsburg, so it's generally like 10 almost 15 degrees cooler than it is in Healdsburg. Healdsburg got the brunt of the heat wave, getting close to 105. But up here, we barely saw anything get above 95 on the hottest days, which is still pretty hot for a grapevine. They tend to shut down on temperatures more than 93 to 95. But since that heat wave happened so early in the growing season, it didn't impact the vines as much as it would if that heat dome or heat wave happened now. So going into the heat wave, the canopies were really lush and big, and they shaded the clusters very well.
With intention.
Exactly, yeah. So leaving the heat wave, barely any leaf scorching or sunburn. So I think we got pretty lucky there.
And this year I'm excited because you're going to be working with the much-respected Cabernet from Moon Mountain. And how are you going to be handling that?
Right. So we're expanding on our Moon Mountain program. In the past, we've been working with Mountain Terraces Vineyard, owned by Steve Letson, and he is very meticulous about his farming. The fruit that comes from there is excellent. What I'm most excited about is we got access to the famed Monte Rosso Cabernet, which I still can't believe we were able to get that, because it's they usually have a waiting list for cab. So pretty lucky. I'm very excited to work with that fruit. The wines I've had from there are just stunning. So that's I think that's what I'm most excited about this year.
So all the things that you do around this property, and you say there's a lot going on here, what do you love the most of your job?
Every day presents a new challenge. Nothing is the same. Yesterday, I just fixed our glycol chillers, which is not really part of a winemaker's task list. But since we're so small up here, we wear many hats. Everything being so different, everything not being mundane and the same is the craftsmanship of winemaking. I love all of it.
And you're backed by the talented and supportive partner, Beto.
Yeah, Beto, my assistant winemaker, he started his winemaking journey, I think when I graduated middle school. So he has a lot more vintages under his belt. But yeah, I was super lucky to have him. He could multitask like no other. He does the job of 3 people. Very smart guy. He's a great palate. I love tasting wine with him. He often points out things that I don't necessarily find at first, but it's nice. It's great to have him by my side.
And he's so relaxed and calm, as you are too.
Yeah. He definitely keeps a level head, and I don't think I've ever seen him stressed out. So it's great quality to have, especially during harvest.
You're kind of fun to watch too when I'm working here on the weekends and serving customers. Well, actually during the week when you're around. Sometimes I work on weekdays, and I see you in and out, and a lot of times you have that smile on your face, and other times you just have this serious look. And it's not that there's anything wrong. You just, when you're zoning in on something, you are very focused.
Yeah, sometimes I get in the zone and get tunnel vision. I'm focused only on the thing that I'm doing at the time. But yeah,
which is good, I guess.
Yeah, my mind usually jumps all over the place. So if I'm focused on one thing, it must be important.
Like many winemakers and assistant winemakers, Matt has a side project he couldn't resist developing with his wife Camille, Allen Vineyards Wine.
Right. Leave it to me to make wine when I'm not making wine at Coursey Graves. Yeah, so me and my wife, we started making our own wine back in 2017 from fruit from her family's vineyard, the Allen Vineyard on West Side Road. And it started off as, like an after work kind of hobby, and then it turned into like a passion fueled project, and then that is now evolving into something greater, which we want to make wine to share with more people rather than just family and friends. So we just love making wine. And my wife, she has a similar background as me. She works at Kistler right now, but she has her master's degree from the University of Dijon in Burgundy. Wow. Yeah, the best part about our Allen Vineyards brand is that we do it together. So I'm really excited about the future of that.
Yeah. And getting back to Coursey Graves, judging by how owner John Graves has put this property together, this beautiful pond that we have here that people just can't get enough of, and the structures around, he must be a real pleasure to work with. And I imagine he's very receptive to any ideas you have.
Yeah, John is great to work with. He loves learning about everything, and like at any time I talk to him, I always explain winemaking in theory, and he just has this look in his eye that's just like, this is awesome, I love this kind of thing. But it's amazing how he transformed this property. When I started, everything was kind of under construction. The winery was getting a big facelift. The pollinator gardens weren't around, and it's just amazing how much this property has changed. It's so beautiful now. My office used to look out towards the gardens and facing Sonoma Mountain, and I had to change my desk because I would just be staring off into Sonoma Mountain and the pollinator gardens all day. I'd be like, I need to kind of stop myself from doing this. So my desk now faces the wall.
Yeah, right into the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this view we're at here, this is another structure that he built, which looks out over the Merlot vineyard and Bennett Mountain down below, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, especially now where it's just like, it's the picturesque California gold rolling hills and the old oaks on the valley floor. And then when you look past Sonoma Mountain, you could see the Petaluma Hills in the background, and then the fog bank over Bodega Bay. Yeah, like I said, I was 6.5 years working here, and I still can't get enough of this view.
Right. So to wrap up, you're pretty excited about how things are looking for this year's vintage out west and then here on the property as well. And from what I've seen, the grapes look like there's some nice clusters.
Yeah, so out in the estate, the clusters are very small, and that same thing with our Petaluma Hills Ranch. So I think the vineyards, they look great. I can't wait to harvest the fruit and make wine. It looks like it's going to be an outstanding vintage.
Explain why small berries are a good thing and not a bad thing.
Well, it depends who you ask. If you ask a farmer, it could be a bad thing because you're not getting the big yield that you want. But as a winemaker, it's exactly what you want because you have a larger skin to juice ratio where all the flavors come from the skin, and when you have too much of that juice, that flavor kind of gets diluted in a way. So yeah, in a quality standpoint, you can't ask for anything more than that.
And this property delivers.
It sure does, through and through every year.
Well, thanks for sitting down with me, Matt. I appreciate your time and continued success here at Coursey Graves.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
You can see much of the beautiful Coursey Graves property at CourseyGraves.com. Click the About page to learn more about owner John Graves and his wife Denise, wonderful people. You'll see links to the estate's full story, the gardens, and architect Charles Stinson, who is well known and respected, I discovered talking with guests. And if you look at the images on the estate page, I'm pretty sure you'll want to see it in person. Oh, and it goes without saying, you'll love the wines too. Today's episode was written, recorded, and produced by me. Please subscribe to On the Wine Road podcast so each episode will automatically appear on your favorite platform. And I appreciate a positive review if that's an option. Find images, wine news, trivia, and more interviews at onthewineroad.us. I'm on Facebook as On the Wine Road and Instagram as JD Wine Road. I'll talk to you again soon as I share more from my travels on the Wine Road.